There's literally a coffee bar in the back. They had no like moo cow regular milk. It was all almond milk and oat milk and soy milk, and I was like, this sucks, but I'll try your coffee, you know.
And cat milk.
Now that
they
was
just
a
like
twist.
Grab one of the cats and like just start tugging on its nipples over your coffee. Like
I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Yeah. Here we go. I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Pretty good. That's pretty good. The exhale.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to Grasstouchers, the show where the three of us guys who have plenty of things better to do talk about video games for far too long because we just love them so much. I am Jake.
I am Jared.
And I'm Greg.
What have we been playing lately? Jared, kick us off, man.
I have been playing, you know what, the dog returns to his vomit. I've returned my old mistress, Escape from Tarkov.
No.
But, to be clear, I've spent the lion's share of my time with an acquaintance of mine, a good friend of mine, my future brother-in-law, and we played Tarkov a different way, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the label of Tarkov, you look at it, it says directions, be tactical, do quests, and be an operator. Well, I scratched the label off and I wrote my own in. It's buy a double barrel shotgun, a grenade, and 20 shotgun shells, go into factory and just try and 0 to hero every time. Low risk,
yeah, dude.
High potential reward. I could blow somebody up. I could knock somebody's block off with this shotgun. And let me tell you, folks, I actually managed to do that at a high clip, and it's a great time. I'm really enjoying that portion of the game. Aside from that,
schemed some good loot off of some of these poor guys that you blast?
Actually, yes. I mean, I grabbed 2 grenades. Joe doesn't have the flea market yet, so I grabbed him a grenade. And the first thing we do, we get in, I drop him a grenade. We have our double barrel shotguns.
Toss. I'm picturing you in the game, just like, here you go, pal.
Yeah,
Toss
take the pin out of it first.
Oh, is the pin not in there? Oh,
whoops. And we've seen a lot of success, and it's a blast, man. It really is a ton of fun.
Sweet, dude.
Yeah, and then aside from that, I picked up a game called Chillquarium on the Steam store. They had like a economy game sale last week, running for I think way
it was
too long.
Like a celebration of efficiency and capitalist freaking economy.
Right. I don't know what spurred that. Maybe Gabe Newell finally made his first $1 trillion. I'm not sure, but
thanks, capitalism. I think I'll have a sale about you now.
Yeah, celebrate. But that's what I've been up to, man. Just
is it like an aquarium like management game?
It is. It's kind of pixel graphic. Excuse me. I'm gonna pop my pee real quick there. Pixel graphic, kind of like passive, persistent income game where you're earning money on the fish that you have, and you can, you buy packs of fish, and sometimes you get a gold one, or a painted one, and it's basically like Pokemon shiny hunting, which is not something that I really get into, but yeah, it's fun. It was like $4, and it's a fun little game. Very relaxing.
Dude, Steam sales will get you every time. There's always something. Always something out there. If you got, $10 burning a hole in your pocket, it'll be easy to have a good time. Dag, how about you, buddy?
I've been playing. I picked up Hades, which is super fun. I've been playing it on my Steam Deck, and I'm probably going to try and play it on PC at some point soon. That is super fun. Those of you out there who are not familiar with Hades, it's a roguelike that's super artful, very beautiful, kind of hand-drawn looking game, at least to my eyes. Very colorful. Combat is super easy to pick up. You can kind of choose between a few weapons and constantly getting upgrades and The purpose of the game is you're trying to escape hell, and especially when you're first playing the game, you die a lot, but every time you come back ever the wiser and ever the stronger. And right. I'm loving it. It's super fun. So I've been playing Hades, which Jake encouraged me to pick up.
It's a good rec, right?
Absolutely. Your recommendations are rarely bad. So
right. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it, because that game, it never stops giving. Like, just when you think you figured something out, you get bored with it, you try a different weapon or a different build or a different goal, and it's like the game keeps changing. The ground shifting under your feet with every run. It's really, really interesting that way.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to playing it more. And other than that, Jake and I got into some Borderlands 3 the other night, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm continuing to play the Steam Deck, playing some retro games and things like that. I picked up, there was a Steam sale. I picked up Firewatch, which had been recommended to me by some friends, and I haven't played it yet, but it was $1.
I was going to say maybe you didn't get it. Yeah, you probably didn't boot that one up yet. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was like $2. So that's super fun. Kind of interested in, I've had this game for a while. I've been thinking about trying to play it again. Sea of Thieves, I hear a lot of good things about it. I've had it for a while.
Oh,
and I haven't really, I played it like 10 minutes. I'll say, oh, this is cool. And then I think actually I picked up Sea of Thieves like 2 years ago, and Jake was like, dude, we should play Battlefield 2042. And I was like, okay, let's do that instead. And Jake and I played Battlefield 2042 for like 3 days or something, and I forgot all about Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, we had a stint with that one, I remember.
We did. And so looking at maybe picking that back up. Other than that, yeah, looking forward to, more Hades and certainly more Borderlands 3.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think about. Think about the podcast ahead of time. I was like, what should I talk about? And I thought, gosh, Borderlands 3 is that we only had the one sort of session, this past week, and I was like, I think that's the game that I enjoyed the most, this week. Yeah. Where that was it's a familiar formula for me, because I've played Borderlands 1 and 2 and the pre-sequel, but for some reason I skipped 3 and it was on sale for $9. So I'm so glad you texted me about it, and that we linked up on that game, because the looter shooter thing has been done lots and lots of different ways, but the first Borderlands game, to my mind, kind of kicked off that game loop, and there's lots of games that have improved on it or changed it or whatever, and it has such a unique stylization. They really have not pivoted away from the guts of that game. There's things that have changed over time. The skill trees have gotten more complex or more varied. Like, you can pick the character that I picked is the like mech lady that her ultimate is like she calls down this mech and hops in it, kind of like Diva in Overwatch or something. But just because you pick the mech doesn't mean you're going to be a particular like DPS role. You could also tank or shield or heal or support in a lot of different ways. It's a really fun game when it comes to putting together a build with a buddy. And the fact that we're just doing PvE co-op, what a fun game. I forgot how rewarding and funny and just like casual, for lack of a better term, that game can be.
Yeah, it's kind of like an unadulterated fun. I feel like a kid again playing that game.
Yeah. I think there's certain things about it: the sound design, the gun design, the way the explosions happen, the way that it's pretty wickedly violent, but like in a goofy and fun way because it's not realistic. The way that you just kind of pick apart the battlefield with all these ridiculous abilities and ridiculous guns that have weird stats and weird abilities and bonuses and perks. It becomes a game of like, how creative can I be with how we get through this section of the map or whatever. So that game rocks. In just a little PUBG here and there. I can't quite quit that. And I have stopped myself from buying Hades for the Steam Deck as much as I want to. It's on the Switch. I think I said that before. I own it on the Switch. I haven't picked it back up on the Switch. I may just wait for it to come out, the second one. Besides that, I played Mortal Kombat 10X, whatever. Because that was a game that I thought, hey, this is sitting in my Steam library. I'm sure it runs fine on the deck, which it does. And I want something I can just kind of pick up and put down and like, I don't know. I'm a big believer in men having to destroy things sometimes to like vent or something. I don't know. And there's something about Mortal Kombat, sort of like Borderlands. It's very visceral. And if you ever just want to like punch somebody's spine through their back, you can do that in Mortal Kombat. And I don't know, it makes it sound like I'm harboring lots of hate and rage, and I'm not really, but it was, I don't know, it was a fun return to a fighting game, because I have an interesting relationship with fighting games, I guess I'll say. I really enjoy like Soul Calibur and Super Smash Bros. and like games that, as far as I know, the fighting community doesn't rant and rave about. I'm not into Street Fighter, I'm not into Tekken, I'm not into Marvel vs. Capcom. I've played all of those for some amount of time, but not like seriously in any way. I don't have a fight stick or anything. But something about Mortal Kombat, I remember playing on the Super Nintendo back in the day with my cousin, and he'd be like, dude, check this out. I figured out how to do a fatality. You want to see? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, 7. Right. And he pulls off this ridiculous fatality combo, input. And I watched my character go from, to like getting his, head ripped off and intestines, used as a jump rope or whatever. And I was like, God dang. Right. So, just kind of returning to that franchise was a fun little dalliance. It's not like my new favorite thing, but it was fun. Nice. So there's that. I tell you, this whole Borderlands thing has got me thinking about co-op games and how between the three of us in different sort of iterations, we've all tried to like find ways to play together in a relatively relaxed atmosphere so that we can actually succeed at something and have fun.
Wait, is that the point of video games? Is that
what you're supposed to remember? I don't know if I believe that anymore.
That doesn't exist.
Once upon a time, fun video games existed and were encouraged. What other co-op games do you guys have fond memories a la Borderlands, right? Whether it's split screen or whether it's on a network connection, just like blasting through with a buddy? Because I've got a few, but the whole game loop of like you and a buddy work through a story and do a thing, not a lot of games pull that off today. Yeah. What other kind of games are like that for you that trigger like joyful memories of working through it with a buddy?
I think the things that come to mind: Halo 2 co-op campaign, Halo 3. I have a brother who's just barely a year older than me, and so that was always awesome growing up because anytime there was a co-op game, it was like a huge opportunity. Like if it was a single player game, it was kind of a downer. But Gears always had a co-op campaign. We always enjoyed that. There was more on the humorous side. We played a lot of Earth Defense Force. I don't know if you guys have heard of that game.
I can picture like the cover art of that sitting at Blockbuster. I don't remember playing it.
It's like this campy, like goofy Japanese game where you like blow up giant bugs, and the game aesthetically like makes no sense really. It's like it's a bad looking game. It's kind of a bad looking series in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
And they embrace that, but we had the Blockbuster Game Pass most summers. Our parents were gracious enough to buy that for us, and it was really awesome.
Dude, that rocked when that came out. I was like, Mom, you'll save so much money.
It was crazy. Yeah, that was really awesome. But we at a certain point you like ended up renting everything that summer. And we ended up with this one. We're like, let's just try it. And we started up and we're like, this game sucks. This game is so dumb. And we were about to just like turn around and bring it right back. But then we picked up a weapon, like unlocked a weapon. And then you realize that there's like 1,000 weapons in this game. Some of them are totally useless. Some of them are way overpowered. They do all these wacky things. And it's honestly, it's a blast to play. But I think the last example I have of a co-op experience, I had a buddy of mine in like middle school. I went to his house and sometimes his grandma would like just let us rent a game, and we didn't know what to get. We could never really agree on what game to get, and we weren't we weren't all that motivated to get anything in particular, so we just rented Resident Evil 5, the one that's like in Africa.
Oh yeah, that had co-op, that's right.
It's like in Senegal or something.
Yeah.
And we beat the whole thing.
That was a heck of a choice, I remember, in RE5.
It sure
a little
was.
backlash there.
Yeah. Things you can get away with in 2008 for 2000, Alex. But that was fun. We beat the whole thing in a weekend, which is surprising because we were not like game beaters at that point. And we just couldn't stop, couldn't put it down. We were just having a blast, and that game was just really playable. It wasn't a great game. It wasn't groundbreaking. But I just remember. I really remember just having a good time. I wouldn't have. There's no chance I would have beaten it or really even played it that much if I wasn't sitting next to a buddy of mine and just enjoying, kind of carrying each other through it. So
I had a similar experience with that game where I rented it for like a weekend and then didn't ever pick it up again. I also didn't beat it, like you guys did. But I think it was me and Clay. We had a time with that game briefly where the unique nature of that game was that there were 2 playable characters, and if you were playing by yourself, you would have just had cutscenes and you would have played as each of them.
Right,
I think.
Right.
But because you have a co-op buddy, you are just sort of both playing, simultaneously, and I thought that was pretty clever to encourage.
Time Crisis?
Yeah, Time Crisis.
That
dude?
pedal, I wanted to take that pedal home with me, dude.
I didn't mention this earlier as far as what we have done in the past week, but this past Sunday was my son's birthday, turned 7, and we went to a lunch where he wanted to. We went to a cat cafe because he wanted to go to one.
What the heck is that?
It's literally a cafe full of cats, and you just like pet cats for an hour.
How is that passing like health codes?
It's
honestly,
I don't know, man. I signed the waiver and didn't read a word of it, so whatever.
What?
But they have a cafe in the back. It's very downtown Greensboro, Dag. I think you can imagine.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The whole interior and the decorations and the signage was like vaguely kawaii in nature. Because I think the concept originated, overseas somewhere. But anyway, so there's literally a coffee bar in the back. They had no like moo cow regular milk. It was all almond milk and oat milk and soy milk, and I was like, this sucks, but I'll try your coffee,
And cat milk.
Now that
they
was
just like
twist.
Grab one of the cats and like just start tugging on its nipples over your coffee. Like
I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Yeah. Here we go. I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Pretty good. That's pretty good. The exhale.
Yeah.
So we went to a cat cafe, but this is why I'm saying this at all. We also went to a barcade after that.
Nice.
And Max wanted to go to the arcade. I had taken him there before.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to go back there, and it's right
Boxcar
in the same area. Yeah, we went to Boxcar.
Cool.
In Greensboro. So anyway, Time Crisis and other games like it. I guess that's a co-op experience, right? Coin operated anyway. And you know what I would harken back to as like an OG co-op experience is Gauntlet, like on the N64.
Oh,
Gauntlet, Dark Legacy.
Yeah, brother.
Dude, Dark Legacy was the one, dude. The one for like Xbox and PS2 era.
I don't think I played that one nearly as much.
The N64 one was the one I played a lot. Yeah.
Whatever was on N64 that my buddy had, sleepover, 4 of us, 4 controllers. Tiny CRT television that's been cut into quarters for each of us.
Yeah. Gauntlet Legends.
One screen. It's one screen.
It was Gauntlet Legends. It was the N64 one. Yeah, so good.
We didn't like beat it or anything, but I remember playing the mess out of that game.
Oh, you didn't beat it?
No, I don't think so.
You didn't beat it, boy. I doubt it. You know what I'm saying? You need to catch my drift. This boy been beating it. He been beating it all night. You know what I'm saying, boy?
The way you're like fading in and out of your fake Discord background is hysterical to me.
Mysterious. I'm coming. Oh.
So you got your Gauntlet Legends. You got your Time Crisis coin operated fun times. Conflict Desert Storm.
Oh yeah.
Conflict Desert Storm 2.
Yeah.
And I think there was a Vietnam one and then some other one. I remember playing all of those at different times. Talk about something. I rented that game so many times I could have bought it twice.
Right,
it was on my hit list every time I had like a weekend hang and had somebody over. Me and Clay jammed on that like constantly. In Conflict Desert Storm 2, I distinctly remember playing the most, I think. If we didn't beat that one, we came close. I don't know. But the other ones, Borderlands, there was some co-op game I remember playing with my brother when he was like of age, right? Because we're 5 years apart, so he had, unlike you and your brother Jared, I had to wait for him to like catch up to me.
Sure.
Like, can you even dual stick, bro?
Right.
And at a certain point, he and I played something. I'll never remember what it was, but there was a just a different vibe. It used to be that you could sit on a couch and do the co-op thing, and that just doesn't really exist. So you can just do it over a network connection now, I guess. But I guess you could say that Left 4 Dead that kind of counts, that kind of thing. I've played quite a bit of that, kind of back in the day when Steam and Valve were sort of popping off as like the online gaming platform. I remember playing a little bit of Left 4 Dead, so that kind of thing. But
yeah.
You got any that we haven't mentioned, Dag?
Yeah. So when I was a youngin', the first one that comes to mind is Twisted Metal 2. Was like the co-op game that I played as a kid, which I went back and played that game. I don't know, 6-8 months ago, and it's hard. It's like you forget how hard some video games, like Jared was and I were talking about the Toy Story game, right, for Super Nintendo. It's like a really hard game. But Twisted Metal 2 was a big one. Legend of Mana, not a very well-known game. From that series, most people know Secret of Mana, which is a Super Nintendo game, but Legend of Mana was released for the PlayStation, and that game is incredibly addictive. Hand-drawn art style, but you can co-op it. You can co-op the whole game. Super fun. If anyone's ever played Chrono Trigger, you can do like the combo, like each, your characters have special moves, but if you're together, you can do like combo specials. It's super cool.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
It's a fun game. Halo 1 though, to me, when I think of co-op, I think of the original Halo playing with my buddy Tyler, sitting on the couch in his living room. And I remember when his parents got a 32-inch TV. Oh, my guys, 32-inch TV. That was like, we had made it. We had reached the peak. Nothing was ever going to get better than playing.
Was it CRT Halo. Or was it flat?
It was it was an old school. I say old school now. It was a CRT but a 32-inch. It was like back then we called them big screen TVs.
Oh yeah, big screen, dude.
And but yeah, it was a 32-inch big screen TV, and we just hooked the Xbox up to it and play Halo, the Halo 1 co-op, and we would always get stuck. The hardest level, that most people who have played that game know, the hardest level to play on legendary difficulty, which is the highest difficulty in Halo, right, is the library. That level from that game is notoriously difficult, and Tyler and I used to get stuck on the library all the time. And anyways, fond memories of because in legendary there are things that just will one-shot kill you in legendary mode, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing about legendary difficulty, and this is an important thing for the co-op conversation, the one big rule that changes in legendary on Halo 1, at least, I don't remember if, Jared, you can correct me if it's this way on Halo 2, but if you're playing co-op on Halo 1 and you're playing legendary mode, when your partner, I guess, is in combat or something, you can't respawn in legendary.
Right, that whole mechanic, like they need to be in a relatively safe position and then you can spawn on them.
Yeah, and I think they added that for only legendary difficulty, right?
I'm not sure. I felt like that might have been across all the difficulties, but legendary was extra spooky because you could just pop out and just die.
Yeah, I mean there was this with how quickly your shields got depleted in legendary,
right,
how powerful their weapons were. You felt like you were in constant danger the whole time. Like you could just get hit by some stray bullet and die, right? And I just have so many fond memories of playing the co-op version of that game.
You walked me through the library a little bit. I don't know if you'll remember this or not, because there had been a couple of adult beverages involved for both of us. But we played the Halo remaster that they released, and you remember you can literally at the push of a button go from the reskin to the original.
Yes, we played it at your house, yeah.
Yeah, dude. And we walked through the library level, and you were like, dude, when I was, I used to, check this out. Oh, this is so hard. Check it out, dude. And I was like, yeah, I can't hang with this right now. I was like, not in the right frame of mind for a challenge. But I think we suffered through it. We ended up beating it eventually after we respawned a bazillion times.
No.
That's good stuff. Hey, Hades, though, to pivot away from the co-op conversation, is extremely, extremely interesting to me, like on a societal level. Have you guys checked out the like min-maxing, speedrunning, like just community of people that are absolutely head over heels for Hades? Have you seen about any of this stuff?
Doesn't surprise me, but I'm not familiar with the specificity.
Yeah,
of
well,
that.
we talked about it before the recording started, just briefly, but I just wanted to highlight. I had no idea. I don't even have any specifics, to be honest with you. There's like one YouTube channel, Halian is his name, an absolute freak of nature, 3,000 plus hours in Hades. Like, he just knows everything there is to know about the game.
Right.
And there is an incredible amount of knowledge you have to have if you want to master the game. There's all this RNG, procedural generated stuff, and which doors you choose and what kind of build you're going for matters from like the first decision point. Like, you need to choose, wisely or whatever. And I watched a speed run at work today on my lunch break that was like, I think it was 6 minutes of game time, 6 and some change minutes of game time, and like 11 minutes sort of real world time, and it was like no mods, just like playing through the game. And there's a mechanic in the game called heat, I think. And the person had cranked it up to the maximum like difficulty or heat or whatever, and they actually beat it. And there's only 2 people in the world that have done it, and watching them do it was like, how is this even possible? It reminds me of a MOBA at that point because of the speed that people are clicking and doing stuff and comboing, and like they have literally min-maxed every part of the. Yeah. They've just sort of min-maxed everything they possibly can, max efficiency, but also that element of luck and how the run is going, like the things that are out of your control is what kind of makes it spicy, right? Like, it's really engaging to watch because you see they went through this door and then on the other side was a mini boss that was sooner than they expected, or they went through this door and there was a bonus there that they didn't have money for, so they missed out on that opportunity or whatever.
Right.
And there's even, I didn't know that the game even worked this way. There's iframes in the game because of the way the animations work. You're invincible for like a second, and there's people that have drilled down to that, just like in fighting games with iframes, and they figure out, oh, okay, well, if I have an iframe at this point, then I'll use that to my advantage here. I can dodge this, blah, blah, blah. And I've come close to beating that game one time after like, I'm going to say 10 or 12 hours. I had booted it up for like a couple of weeks off and on. And to watch somebody with that many hours on the game just like whoop, run all the way to the end and kill the final boss in 15 minutes, like, you gotta be kidding me. It's impressive in like this nerdy sort of statistics way that I forgot I do enjoy sometimes. Whether it's Borderlands or some RPG or a game like Hades, there's this min-maxing thing. Do you guys do that in games? I bet, Jared, you do because of all the economy kind of games you play, right? Like, are you into all that kind of stuff?
Greg, you got something?
I was gonna say I'm like super into the speedrunning thing. I don't speedrun games myself because the amount of hours you have to dedicate to actually be successful enough at it to where you could be on YouTube and people would actually watch your videos is more hours than I care to spend. But my probably, and my wife would agree, probably my favorite pastime, literally thing that I do to pass the time if I'm just like, chilling and I just want to pull up something easy to watch on YouTube. I watch speedrunning videos probably every day, right? And I
don't think I knew that about you. Yeah. Interesting.
And my 2 favorite games to watch people speedrun are Super Metroid, because that game is like, there's actually interviews with the devs, and they were like, yeah, we knew all along when we were building the game that people would speedrun it someday, because when we were building it, we started speedrunning it. And so
cool.
They put, like, in 1993, they put specific things into the game where you can, what they call sequence break, like you can get upgrades early in the game, and you can, all that stuff is, most of it is intentional.
Right.
If you have the skill set to do it. And I'm not even talking about glitches, like abilities that you can kind of tinker with in the game to where you can sequence break, right? So I love watching Super Metroid speedruns. And those of you that are not super familiar with speedruns, there's kind of 2 categories of how people speedrun. There's speedrunning, and then there's TAS speedrunning, so tool assisted, where people use some sort of program that helps them slow down the game to where they can pixel perfect things, and that's more of just like almost like a display in a museum. It's not like it's not incredibly skill based, although there is skill involved. But I prefer just traditional speedrunning. But so Super Metroid, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the other game. All the Mega Man X games, especially the first 3 games. My favorite, I'll shout out to my favorite speedrunner, Caleb Hart 42. He is like one of the most well-known on YouTube Mega Man X speedrunners, and his content's amazing. And anyways, he went like it's kind of just crazy talking about like a skill set, right? Because I think he went like the whole last year until like 2 months ago, he stopped speedrunning Mega Man X for like a year. Like he stopped playing the game for like a year. And he did a Twitch stream like 2 weeks ago where he was like, all right, just cold, I'm going to speedrun the first 6 Mega Man X games back to back without stopping in one stream.
Oh my gosh.
And it was still like close to world record times. He hadn't played the game.
Yeah, it's
like,
still super good.
It was so good. And just and he's done several videos, which this is what's cool to me is you guys should check out Caleb Hart. He has several videos where he actually breaks down the techniques that he uses to speedrun the game, and he'll slow the frame down and he'll go, okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm kicking against this wall at this exact pixel, which causes me to hit this ledge this way, and I can it's like very strategic, and he talks through like, this is how you do this. If you're trying to speedrun the game, I'm gonna teach you how to do it. I think that's very cool.
Well, there's things that the community, like, it amazes me how the speedrunning community, they will develop a name for a thing that the developers may or may not have ever intended to exist, and then it spreads like wildfire among this really small clique of people that really want to do speedruns. And then it becomes just nomenclature now. Like this is a term in our vocabulary as speedrunners. This is how you do this thing. I didn't know in The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild that you can slide on your shield. That was not very directly introduced in the game, I don't think, or it wasn't really like obviously telegraphed to you. There wasn't like a big tutorialization of how to do a slide.
It wasn't like a
down
tool that
on
they
your
gave
shield,
you right
like
away.
surfing on your shield.
Yeah. So in a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild speedrun that I watched, this guy was like, see, if you shield surf at this time off of this thing, then you'll teleport through this wall. And I'm like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
Shield surf? What? And I thought maybe that was an assisted sort of like, faked, braked thing. But no, it was part of the game that was intentional, part of the game that was not. And these guys are like breaking through stuff. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's super cool. I don't have any desire. Like you said, speedrunning is so like, think of all the things that you wouldn't be able to do because you're learning how to speedrun the game. Like all the other games that you could be playing, all the other things you could be doing, all the disc golf that you could go enjoy outside, touching grass. But I do love min-maxing in games that are very number-centered. Trying to keep track of, for example, in Borderlands 3, I'm trying to figure out, as we continue to play that game, what's my build going to look like? And, are there bonuses that I need to start chasing after now so that I'm aligned, to have a particular set of pros and cons that go with my character. What about you, Jared? Do you do all this kind of stuff?
I don't speedrun. Well, it depends on your definitions of speedrun, though. You know what I mean? My definition of speedrun is to score some trucker crank and then run naked past as many elementary schools as possible before the cops subdue you with non-lethal beanbag rounds out of a shotgun. That's my version of a speedrun. But
yeah, see what kind of records you can break, how many beanbags it takes to take you down.
Yeah, that is where I'm at. I'm meta with my
37 is the number.
That's the 37 is the number right now, and I'm trying to work on 38, and it's going pretty well. But I got beef with speedruns in a way because they're hard for me to watch. They disconnect me from the experience in some ways because I'm like, what like I've seen people do like speedrun things like on like Mario Kart where they just like take obviously they bug the game out in a way that I realize it still takes ability and time to learn all that, but It's just weird. It breaks immersion from the game, and I think I just lose engagement because I'm like, is this a speed run or is this just like find as many exploits as possible and beat the game in like this bizarre fashion? And there's merit to it, I guess. It's just not something that I connect with. I don't know.
I guess that's more or less where I'm at. Is that it would have to be a game that's like been out for a long time and it's been beaten to death, and like the only thing that's left to do is let all the nerds do speedruns of it. Sure. Ocarina of Time or something, which has a whole speedrunning community, of course.
Right.
There's a disconnect that I would feel too if I watched a speedrun of a game that I actually do enjoy, like present day. Mm-hmm. Nobody desires. I don't think. I mean, I say that there's probably a community out there for it. to speedrun Borderlands 3, right? Because as many exploits as there are, you're missing out on, all the goofs and gaffs and jokes and the unique sense of humor of that game and all the cool weapons that you can grind for or find. And there's a lot of random stuff that you don't expect to be there because it's so procedural. Like, if I pick my favorite game and go watch a speedrun event, I'd be like, man, that's not how that game was meant to be played. Get out of here. Stop that,
Right.
But I also see how, if that's your favorite thing to do, if you live for finding exploits and being clever, even if it means breaking the game beyond recognition, then good for you, I guess.
It is,
and I'll occasionally check it out.
It is cool. It's just not something that I enjoy watching. That's all.
Yeah, that's why I like those of you. This is my opinion on it. That for those of you fellow grass touchers or aspiring touchers of grass out there, if you're gonna get into watching speedruns, if that's like a thing that you're like, oh, that I'd like to look at that. There are, I talked about categories of speedruns. There are the other major ones are there are glitchless speedruns and glitch speedruns. I tend to watch glitchless speedruns, meaning they don't do exploits. They don't pass through walls and bug the game out, right? I prefer that. Right. But some people like the glitching runs. And then the other category is 100% versus any percent, right? So,
any percent, right.
I think the glitchless any percent and 100% speedruns are that's my speed, for lack of a better term. One of the coolest games to watch people speedrun is Super Mario 64. Watching people do.
I actually just pulled up the leaderboard speedrun page for Super Mario 64 because I was going to talk about it.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Let's see, and the person who I used to watch forever is no longer in the top 10.
It looks like the number one person for N64, not emulated, 120 star Super Mario 64. Did it in 1 hour and 36 minutes and 21 seconds. And if you've ever touched that game, you recognize how incredible that is. That's
insane.
To get 120 stars, are you kidding me? Now, if you click it down to what is this, 1 star? I guess there's a way to do it with 0 stars. 1 star.
6 minutes.
Which 1 star is it? 1 star by its nature is a glitch speedrun because you have to have so many stars to get into the end areas in that game, right? So.
Right. Yeah. So there's a that's a game that people have been breaking beyond recognition, trying to get through certain things. I don't know about the 120 star. I imagine it's got some exploits in there, but not if it's on the N64 and not emulated, there's a limit to how many tools they're probably, using to assist or whatever. But
so
pretty wild.
100% non-glitches. Glitchless is like the NBA, and then you start to get into the glitch version, and it's like the WNBA, and then less stars with glitches, or with no glitches is like wheelchair basketball, and then glitches and no stars is like Special Olympics. Right?
Sounds right to me, man.
It's really interesting because if you actually go watch, it depends on the game, but some of the glitches are incredibly difficult to pull off, and in some instances, some of the glitches are harder to pull off than some of the skill-based things you have to do a glitchless run. But I don't know. I agree with you guys. The whole thing of bugging the game out, tricking it to where it is but a shell of the original game. That's not my thing, right? If I'm going to watch someone speedrun a game, I want it to be skill based, right? I want to see someone do some crazy acrobatics that are built into the game engine, but just require incredible practice. That's cool to me, which is why Super Metroid speedruns in particular are really impressive.
I'm looking at Super Metroid and. Any percent is 40 minutes and 36 seconds. Yeah,
in-game time, 27 minutes.
So, it looks like that is the quickest you can do it in-game time, based on... it doesn't get better than that, evidently. 100%. What I wonder. 1 hour and 12 minutes and 30 seconds and 880 milliseconds, because that...
Yeah, those three guys, those Shiny Zenny, Behemoth, and Zos, those three guys on the 100% board, they've been there for 2 or 3 years now. Right. And those times are different, right? See, it says like 3 months ago, 1 month ago. But Zos, that's impressive. His record's been held for 2 years. That's pretty it's pretty amazing.
That's insane to me. Yeah.
You guys think that, like, you think this is why China hates us so much? Because I feel like when I was a kid, it was like you'd watch the news and it was, this guy is the best Dr. Mario player in the world, and he does these inhuman things. But now we got people over here in the States who have too much time, and we're kind of stealing their thing. Do you think that bugs them? It would bug me.
Oh, I think they found plenty of other things to beat us at. But it reminds me of a couple episodes.
Oh, name one.
It reminds me a couple episodes ago, you were like, so are we still making doctors and sergeants? Are we just giving up on that?
No, we're making speedrunners.
Yeah, speedrunners is one of our exports for sure. I think I have zero like national pride for speedrunning. Like, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter who does it. But the idea that there's a guy competing with other guys or girls, whatever, that
impossible.
This is their one thing, and it takes hours upon hours upon hours for them to do it. And there's no reward, not really. What, are you sponsored? Like, maybe you have a YouTube channel. Okay, that can pay some bills probably, I hope. But the idea that we get to watch somebody drill down to the Earth's core, that's how deep in this game they are.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do it. I don't have to lift a finger. All I have to do is watch their 30-minute YouTube video of how they beat Metroid Prime or whatever in 30 seconds. Yeah. That's so cool to me, but it's also like, yeah, never doing that. It's just never. There's just no way. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
One thing
astounding. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg.
No, you're good. I was going to say one thing that I do think is very cool that comes out of speedrunning is AGDQ, Awesome Games Done Quick. That company is great. They do live streamed. I think it's just called GDQ now. But they do.
Yeah, I see that. GamesDoneQuick.com.
They live stream their. They have famous speedrunners, quote famous, right, speedrunners that come on, and they donate money to charity based off of raising money for people watching these speedrunners, which I think that's super cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
So that's kind of a positive with the whole speedrunning community.
Oh, for
right?
sure. For sure. I love a good, video games are kind of stupid on their face, obviously it's 2024 and anybody can play anything, and gaming is not exactly a niche thing anymore. It's like super mainstream. But the idea that you could take any given hobby and do it for charity, let alone video games, that's always a good thing. There's a nonprofit that I follow called stackup.org, and they do lots of like supporting veterans and stuff with care packages and fundraising, and I love that, whether it's speedrunning or anything else. The idea that it can pay forward in any way, it's pretty rad. Love that.
It's kind of chill though that like 2 or 3 generations ago, our great grandfathers were like storming the beaches of Normandy, and now like their great grandchildren are like playing Metroid for literally the 5,000th time.
Okay, boomer, bringing up Normandy.
It's kind of awesome though, dude. It's really funny. It's just amazing. It's kind of astounding how quickly like the world has changed. It's just so weird, dude. That wasn't like, can you imagine if they saw us
philosophical,
doing that? Dude? I'm just saying, it's like you talk about thousands of years where life is pretty much, it stays kind of the same, and then just like all of the sudden you can be like this neat, like bony, pale, dungeon dwelling kid who beats Katamari Damacy faster than anybody in the world. That's a career almost. It's just
never lifted a finger, never done any manual labor in his whole life.
Right.
It makes me think of that people out there that are not familiar. Bill Maher's a talk show host, and he's really funny. I think he's really funny, and he does a whole bit where he talks about how people used to be tougher, right? And he tells this story about when he was when he was a kid and he had to go get a cavity filled, right? He had to go get a filling. And this is before Novocaine, right? And so he like, it was like below freezing outside, and he like rode his bike by himself. Parents didn't go with him, right? Rode his bike to the dentist. They drilled into his tooth without Novocaine, no numbing. They filled it, and then he rode his bike back to his house, crying the whole way back, and his tears were freezing to his face because it was below freezing. He's like, they have that story, which happened, 50 years ago, and then you've got Katamari Damacy Speedrunner Boy 69. It's like the dichotomy of that it's pretty amazing how times have changed.
Could not be more different. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Kids these days, they're Novocaine, they're video games. You kidding me?
Kids these days with their Novocaine and their cocaine and their gays. Oh, you got to cut this out. Never mind. I'm not even going to say this.
What? I would never. Well, I think that'll about do it. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little while, folks. Thanks for listening. Be sure to spread the word. Thank you so much for liking, for following, for checking us out on Instagram or X or Spotify or Apple. We've really enjoyed that, haven't we, Dag?
We have. Please check us out on Instagram at 3 Grasstouchers. We'd love to get more followers on Instagram. Sort of lacking in that department, and would love to spread the word. Follow us. We have some wonderful things coming down the pipe. We appreciate your support as always. You guys are the reason we do this. We love talking and sharing our love of video games with you. Thank you so much. And I'll pass it back to Jake for the normal exit.
That's right. Thanks again, everybody. And don't forget to get out there and touch some grass.
Oh, yeah.